Alright, so I'm auditing the assumption that time, space, and matter function as a trinity, meaning all three must have come into existence simultaneously in order for the three to function properly, and all three require each other to exist. This is not accurate. Well, first requirement, each would have to be so interwoven. If one of these aspects were to fail, the entire trinity would not be operational. This is not true. Space could exist without matter. Alright. Now, matter could not exist without space, but space could exist without matter. Alright. The Big Bad Boom only provides an explanation for matter's creation. Alright, only matter's creation, and matter only. Alright, I'll say that a few times, two different ways to get the point across. The Big Bang Theory only provides an explanation for matter's existence, not space nor time. So, I'm going to use philosophical principles, but I'm only going to establish them through reason. Reason. Alright. Atheists, you like to ask questions, what's the reason? Well, we're gonna talk about reason sarcastically. Alright. So I'm going to reiterate. I reiterate a lot to be a smart ass. The Big Bad Boom only provides an explanation for matter's creation story, and matter only. Why is that important? Alright. Space. Does space need time to exist? No. Alright. Space did not, or matter did not, back up. Time did not have to be created. Well, Nick, why do you say that? That sounds crazy. All time does is measure the existence of something. So all time is, so Albert Einstein, you can take your theory of relativity and throw it in the trash, because scientists were trying to be fancy and give this big long fancy explanation, because what they're trying to do is make science seem above reproach. They try to make it seem like the ordinary man isn't smart enough to reprove science. They try to make it seem like they're just hot shit. Well, no. Alright. Does space need matter to exist? No. But due to the fact the entire purpose of space is to act as a storage room for matter and serve no other purpose, because that's the only purpose space serves, it would be completely asinine to say space isn't at least designed by God. Why? Because space does not exist. But, boy, that sounds crazy. The reason why space exists is because it does not exist. Alright? So you have one dimension, which is a point. And you have two dimensions, which is a line, and three dimensions, which is a three-dimensional object, which is height, length, width, and depth. Alright. What about the 0D? Because there's a 0D, and that's what space is. Space is a 0D. It's a spatial dimension, just like one dimension and two dimension and three dimension is. 0D, space is a spatial dimension, and it exists due to the fact it does not exist. That's why I say it's asinine to say it's not at least designed by God, because it exists due to its non-existence. Well, how do you know? Well, if not even nothing exists, even scientists would acknowledge, but really it's asinine to say it. Neil deGrasse Tyson. When I'm addressing the scientific community, I'm going to address Neil deGrasse Tyson specifically, because he's supposedly the smartest. We'll see. Neil deGrasse Tyson, what exists on the exterior of space? Well, you say it's forever expanding. Well, what exists on the exterior then? Well, the answer would have to be space, theoretically, but at the same time, if it's nothing, then nothing can exist. So then, therefore, space has to be a design form of nothing. Alright, tracking? Atheists call me stupid. Alright. Space is a dimension. Get over it. Space is a dimension. Well, why does the Big Bang not take the time to go over the creation of a spatial dimension? Neil deGrasse Tyson. The Big Bad Boom only provides an explanation for the existence of matter. Well, the problem with that is space had to have been created. Space did not be an accident. Alright? Space had to be created, right? This is a problem. This is the big problem, NASA. Matter does not interact with space. That's why I harped on the part that space does not exist. So space does not interact with matter, as in, you can do this all day long. NASA, when space explodes, let me know. Well, space doesn't explode. Space does not interact with matter. That's the reason why it's space. Space does not interact with matter. Point blank, period. But space is a dimension that had to be created. So NASA, how could an explosion have created space? It couldn't have. It's impossible. Space doesn't interact with matter, so how would an explosion have created something that doesn't interact with matter? And also, if space is constantly expanding, then that chemical reaction that accidentally created space in the first place would have to constantly be happening. If space is constantly being created, which is necessary, if space is constantly being created, if the universe is expanding, then space would have to constantly be being created. So a spontaneous accidental boom creating time, space, and matter couldn't be or even then, matter of fact, let me just play the devil's advocate. If that were the truth, then we would know what the reaction is that caused time, space, and matter to come into existence, because we would be able to tell, because it would have to still be constantly happening if space is constantly being created. Oh yeah, Neil deGrasse Tyson got problems to deal with. Praise God, praise the Lord. Science does not even try to provide any kind of explanation for the existence of time in the Big Bang Theory. And that's because time theoretically doesn't exist. Time is simply a repercussion of the creation of space and matter, because it's simply measuring the existence thereof. Alright? And I'm just freestyling in space, which doesn't exist under no circumstance at all whatsoever, does matter ever react with space. Furthermore, if you review this content, the Trinity theory has now been proven objectively wrong, because matter needs space. Alright, there's levels to it. Matter needs space, but space does not need matter. If you threw every piece of matter in the trash, space should still exist. And time would still exist, because it'd be measuring the existence of nothing. Or space, which is nothing. Matter must have space to dwell within. Without space, matter cannot exist. Therefore, atheists, you can rule out an accident, because space is a spatial dimension. Space is as much of a spatial dimension as the length, width, and depth is. Space doesn't react with matter at all under any circumstance. An explosion would have to have went boom, not bang. Also, that irks me. Boom. Explosions are boom. Like, I'm a 12 Bravo in the Army, that's a 12 boom boom. 12 bang bang, pop, 12 boom, not bang. But an explosion which would have went boom, not bang, supposedly created space. Unless NASA provides a experiment showing how matter can physically react with something that's not physical, when they do that, then I'll change my mind. Alright, so Trinity, time, space, and matter. The idea that these three things must have come into existence and exist simultaneously. Allegedly, the Big Bang went boom due to a chemical reaction that took place before chemicals existed. Keep that in mind. Atheist, the Big Bang, I'm going to come in for that in a minute. Atheist, the Big Bang boom explains that a chemical reaction occurred which created the first chemicals that came into existence. Atheist's statement is asinine, but time measures the existence of something. Does it have a physical manifestation? No, it does not. Therefore, space-time and matter, the space-time theory can be thrown in the trash. Does it depend on space, or without space and time measuring the existence of nothing? NASA, the Big Bad Boom created time. Alright, well, what is NASA's explanation for the dirty deets of how a boom created something that doesn't react with matter and doesn't have a physical manifestation? Actually, the Big Bad Boom attempts to satisfy the existence of matter and of matter only. The Big Bad Boom states time, space, and matter came into existence simultaneously. Well, put a sticky note in that. I'm reading this out of order, but it's actually meant to confuse y'all even more, but I'm talking facts. That's all I want to talk about atheism is objective facts. I'm auditing the assumption that time, space, and matter function as a trinity, meaning all three must have come into existence simultaneously in order for them to function properly, and all three require each other to exist. Boom. Atheist. The Big Bad Boom only provides an explanation for matter's creation story and matter only. Why is that so important?
because the other two exist as well, and NASA didn't even try to explain why they exist. Why? Because they're liars. So is Neil deGrasse Tyson.